Quinn Hughes, Vancouver Canucks, breakup incoming. It looks like it. There's a lot of evidence from Quinn Hughes' body language on the ice to some of his comments naming the Devils GM by a nickname. So many different things. Elliot Friedman, sources I'm hearing, other insiders. There's a lot of evidence going on, folks. So I'm sorry, Canucks fans, but there's so much to talk about here. If Quinn Hughes is not traded in the season, it's very likely to happen in the offseason, but it seems like it's heating up more. Elliot Friedman brought it up on Hockey Night in Canada and his latest 32 Thoughts podcast. He doesn't want to say too much, but he's hearing a lot of buzz. I want to get straight to the facts, guys, and get straight to everything here. I'm not going to waste your time, so let's just get right into it. Top 3 teams for Quinn Hughes right now, based on the reports: New Jersey Devils. We know that. Worst kept secret in hockey, right? The other 2 Hughes brothers are there. Philadelphia Flyers. Detroit Red Wings. The Hughes family and the Michigan ties, there's a lot of connections there. So, as you can see, there's so many articles, right? Quinn Hughes' body language on the ice, there's been some clips coming out as well. I think, personally, there is a clear, I would say, message from the Devils that they're not going to give up a big package here for Quinn Hughes. I just don't see it. According to Rick Dhaliwal, what do the Canucks want from New Jersey? Nico Hischier. So, I don't think New Jersey's doing that. That's why this is getting really complicated because, again, the worst kept secret in hockey, you would think Quinn Hughes gets traded to New Jersey. New Jersey does have a lot of other pieces. Like when you look at some of their middle 6 forwards or you look at some of their up-and-coming prospects, you also look at some of their younger defensemen like a Simone Nemec, who's played really well so far this season. New Jersey does have some pieces. Are they willing to give up those pieces? That's a big question. You look on the Detroit side of things, which I'm going to get into a little heavier here. The Red Wings have so many pieces to put together here. And with the Hughes brothers having the connection to Michigan, maybe it's a scenario where, hey, Quinn Hughes joins Detroit. Loves it in Detroit. Loves playing with Moritz Seider. And then, maybe a few years down the line, the Hughes brothers want to just all go to Detroit. It's possible. Detroit, New Jersey, I mean, they're all fairly close on that East Coast, I would say, for the most part. And Michigan, again, the Hughes ties. Philadelphia comes into play for a couple different reasons. Obviously, there's a few U.S. Development Program players on that team that were from that program. And Rick Tocchet and Quinn Hughes, according to a few reports, got along. It was a good relationship. Well, Rick Tocchet's now the head coach in Philly. And of course, if you guys don't know your U.S. geography, Philadelphia, New Jersey, yeah, pretty close. We're talking about a couple hours. So if New Jersey and Vancouver can't come to an agreement in terms of being close to his brothers and the parents being able to be in close proximity to their kids, well, New Jersey and Philly, it's pretty close. So I think Philly's the other option in here. They're the sneaky option, but Detroit may have a better offer up their sleeve. So there's so many different layers here to talk about. My Detroit proposal was something around a Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson, Carter Bear, something along those lines. I could also see Detroit targeting Kiefer Sherwood, so I would keep an eye on that. But I think there's so many different layers to this as well. Does Detroit want to go all in? If they want to go all in, yeah, on top of Quinn Hughes, maybe they do pluck a Sherwood and a couple other guys from Vancouver. Danielson and Kasper, for me, you probably don't want to lose both in this trade if you're Detroit, but at the same time, it is Quinn Hughes. If you could get 2 playoff runs with Quinn Hughes and Moritz Seider as your top pair, that would be the best pair in hockey, in my opinion. The best pair in the National Hockey League. So that's a risk I think Detroit should take. Albert Johansson's a good piece in the defense group. But again, if you're bringing in Quinn Hughes, you can move on from Albert Johansson. A first-round pick. If you're Detroit and you know you're going to be at the top of the division, see a first-round pick. So, to me, I really see a scenario where it's Carter Bear in here and one of, at least, Marco Kasper or Nate Danielson. There's been some reports that Vancouver prefers Marco Kasper, but I've also been seeing conflicting reports that Nate Danielson is an attractive piece as a 2C in the future. So, I could see it both ways. As of right now, Nate Danielson's playing center with Detroit. I believe Kasper's been shifted center and wing a few different times. So that's also something to be considered. And I mean, you look at some of these quotes like Spit and Chicklets, Ryan Whitney, like these guys are saying it is done. It is fair to say his time is done. There's so much trade noise. He's saying he's playing as well as he can. He's almost a point per game, but not quite there. There's a lot of things going on here. Shout out to Sarah. She kind of weighed some pros and cons. But you know what Quinn Hughes can do, and you just saw it there. And this is right from Donnie and Dolly. Rick Dhaliwal is a reliable source. Not many teams can give the Canucks what the Red Wings can give. I think there's a lot of smoke around the Red Wings and Canucks making a deal here. So let's talk about it. There's fans making these trade proposals. Again, I'm not just giving you guys fluff here. I think Detroit can do this, and I think it's very, very possible right now. If New Jersey wants to fool around and go, hey, he's going to come to us for free in a year and a half. Why are we going to spend assets? Well, Detroit could come in. And again, the Michigan and Hughes family ties. I'm going to make that clear again because there is something there. I think Quinn Hughes would love playing for Detroit. And at the end of the day, the Red Wings would be righting a wrong, making that wrong a right by getting Quinn Hughes. Because once upon a time, they drafted Philip Zadina over Quinn Hughes. So the big question is, could it be a massive package like I just proposed, guys, where it's like a few younger pieces like a Carter Bear, like an Albert Johansson? Or does Vancouver go, we want Edvinsson and Kasper. They will fit right into our roster. We're only accepting that. Red Wings fans, would you do Edvinsson and Kasper for Quinn Hughes? There's no guarantee Quinn Hughes stays long term, but you have Quinn Hughes for the next 2 years, and you have a year and a half basically to convince them that, hey, this is a winning program here. You're at home. We'll bring your brothers here later on. The guys are still young. The Hughes brothers are still young. Quinn Hughes could sign like a 3 or 4 year extension in Detroit next year, and the Hughes brothers could come along later on in that contract, and Quinn Hughes would still be in his early to mid 30s, right? Be a veteran on that team, bring his brothers along. That Elias Pettersson Byfield thing is crazy, and there's a lot of rumors around Philip Deneau. Anyways, going back to it, I think there is a trade to happen here with Detroit and Vancouver if Detroit's willing to give up the assets. To me, this is too much. And this is coming from a Canucks fan, probably. But I don't think you're giving up all these pieces. I think it could be one of Edvinsson or Sandin Pellikka. I think it could be one of those guys. And I think it could be one of Danielson or Kasper if one of those high-end prospects or younger defensemen are in it. If it's Albert Johansson, as I put in my previous proposal, yeah, I could see it being both Danielson and Kasper because the Canucks are desperate for centers right now. They're not desperate for a defense. They're desperate for centers. They're desperate for that second-line center, and one of Kasper or Danielson you would hope could fulfill that role. So there's some decent proposals here online from fans. I don't think there's great ones, but at the same time, people need to remind themselves, like Erik Karlsson, the trade with San Jose and Ottawa, like other trades in the past, even the Jack Eichel trade from Buffalo to Vegas, it's never as big as you expect it to be. In my opinion, it usually isn't. When you lose the best player in the deal, you lose the deal, right? Look at, I was wrong. I can admit I was wrong. You look at the Calgary Florida deal. I thought Calgary did as well as they could, and honestly, I still kind of believe that. Like, Uyghur's still a really good piece, and you could probably flip Uyghur for a lot of good pieces right now. At the end of the day, Matthew Tkachuk is Matthew Tkachuk, and Florida has won 2 cups. It's as simple as that. And then moving on, let's see if this is a New Jersey proposal. So something like this is really interesting. If Quinn Hughes was to come now to New Jersey, would the Devils be willing to trade Jesper Bratt? My answer is no. But take out Bratt here. Ignore Bratt in this proposal, guys. I'm going to cut it off on the screen. I think this is really interesting. Just that. Nemec, Mercer, and 2 firsts. I think that's something New Jersey would consider, and I think that's something Vancouver would consider. If they believe it, the big thing on that one is if Vancouver believes Mercer could play center, that is a deal that I think they would entertain. Mercer, Nemec, multiple firsts, maybe another prospect. That is something they would maybe entertain. And honestly, this is similar to what I proposed. Danielson, and this time Sandin Pellikka, with 2 firsts and a third. That gets you the next mobile defenseman in Vancouver. Sandin Pellikka and Willander could be a pretty good pair. And then Danielson, potentially your future second-line center in Vancouver. Detroit gets Quinn Hughes, and they get Kiefer Sherwood for the playoff run. We're getting close, guys. We're getting close to that structure and the potential of what Detroit could offer Vancouver, and I think Vancouver is licking their chops at the potential of what they could get here. Again, people might not think it's enough because it is Quinn Hughes, guys. I'm acknowledging Quinn Hughes is, at his best, the second best defenseman in this league. Is he at his best right now? I'd say probably not, but it's also on a struggling Vancouver team and in a mess internally. But I'll say this. If you're Vancouver, damage control. Damage control is very important here. You do not want to go into next year with no trade for Quinn Hughes, and then the value just keeps going down, and then you lose him for nothing potentially. That would be the worst case scenario. Canucks fans need to remember that. Asking for the star, the moon, the sun is not going to work. If you can get it, great. But if teams are not willing to give it and not call you on the bluff, well, they're going to wait it out. They're going to wait it out because guess what? If someone like me and a bunch of other people that are not even internal in these situations are realizing how bad and how obvious it is that this guy is going to be moving on, other teams realize it. They are not going to give up every single piece in their farm to get this guy. They're just not. If he was locked in a 6 or 7 year deal, that's different. This guy has 1.5 years left on his contract, and there's no guarantee he'll sign in anywhere but New Jersey. That's just based on the obvious fact of what's going on right now and the fact that his two brothers are in New Jersey. So, yeah, New Jersey could look at it like, hey, we have a window right now to win a couple cups. Let's get him now. It still doesn't mean that they're going to trade Jesper Bratt or Nico Hischier. It still doesn't mean that. So, give me your thoughts, guys. I just wanted to rip through this really quickly. I didn't want to waste your time. You saw a few fan proposals. You guys have an idea what I think. I think there's like going to be 3 or 4 major pieces in this deal. A future second-line center for the Canucks. So Nate Danielson or Marco Kasper fit that bill. A younger defenseman, so it could be Evansson, it could be Sandin Pellikka, it could be Albert Johansson. Albert Johansson's value is below Edvinsson and Sandin Pellikka, I would say. So if it's Albert Johansson, you're adding like Carter Bear and draft capital. But I could very well see the structure of this deal being around Sandin Pellikka and Danielson or Kasper. Obviously, again, the scenario of Edvinsson, I think you maybe keep Edvinsson as your second pair guy because he brings the size, he brings a little bit of a different element to your defense group. Where Sandin Pellikka would be that pure offensive guy, and if you're bringing in Quinn Hughes and the fact that Maurice Seider and Edvinsson could play power play time as well, you don't really need a Sandin Pellikka. So I could see Sandin Pellikka going to Vancouver. I could also see Nate Danielson or Kasper. So keep an eye on a lot of the names I just talked about. But long story short, as you're seeing in articles, as you're seeing from reports, Elliot Freeman's hinting at it. Detroit potentially could offer the best and most attractive package. If New Jersey doesn't want to play ball, Vancouver could pivot to Detroit. Still keep an eye on Philly. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. Give me your thoughts. Give me your mock trades down below as well. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about more stuff. But Elliot Freeman, reliable insiders out there, talking about how Quinn Hughes could be traded very soon. We'll see. Have a good one, guys. Peace.